Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. It is a bit late, but I'm finally going to be trying out the EZA transforming Bardock, or EZA SSJ Bardock. I'm not going to lie, one I'm not really too bothered about just because he's not that good, but for the sake of content we are going to use him. He is level 10 links, he is ready to go. I do have him at 2 dupes. Pretty much as good as he's going to get, aside from being Rainbow, of course. This team, we've got him on. I've even brought Pan for a bit of support just to see how that goes. And we are starting with a 333k attack stat, 164k defense. He does stack defense on super attack by 50%, and that is about it. But that is what we're going to want to be building up with him right now. And then he is starting the turn with key +2, attack and defense plus 150%. He does gain an additional attack plus 50% when attacking, and then gains an additional attack plus 20% up to 100%, and reduces damage received by 10% up to 50% per low class warrior category ally on the team, which I'm not gonna lie isn't too bad, but I haven't actually flooded the team out of low class warrior units. Like, I'll be real, like I built the team realistically how I would build the team if I was going into like a proper red zone run or something like that. I mean, I could have put 23rd World Tournament Goku on the team, which I mean could have given us 10%. But if we're being completely realistic, I mean at most we would have been at 20%, just because there would have been 2, which is Bardock himself and 23rd World Tournament Goku. Now, I'm not being funny, right? And don't get me wrong, having 50% damage reduction would be very nice, especially on a unit that you are also, you know, stacking defense with by 50% each time. Like, it's a pretty good combination. But when you look at low class warrior units and the type of units you take into red zone and the most difficult content, I mean, at one stage or another, that Fizz Fusher was pretty good. There's 23rd World Tournament Goku, who's still pretty good but has aged. I mean, are you going to be using Dokkan Fest Tech Bardock? 23rd, not 23rd. Path to Power Kid Goku, at one stage or another, was one of the best units in the game. Like, and then we fall off very quickly, and even then, like, again, are you using Path to Power Kid Goku nowadays in red zone? No, no you're not. Are you using Bardock? No. I don't think I even see anyone even talk about that unit. So, that is a big part of his passive you're going to miss out on. Yes, you lose out on 100% attack in total, but more so 50% damage reduction. Yeah, I feel like they should have really just unattached damage reduction from a condition. Maybe even just give him less. You know, maybe give him, or they should have given him damage reduction, like an extra damage reduction attached to a condition, and then give him like a base 30 just for nothing, like he just has it. Because without building a team with low-class warrior units, which, again, realistically, you're not going to do just because a lot of them just aren't that good anymore. Aside from maybe, like, literally one. You're only going to get 10% damage reduction out of anyway. 20 at a push. 20 at a push, maybe 30 at a push if you decide to bring, like, units you're not using nowadays and try to keep them safe throughout the entirety of an event. But it's just something you're not going to do. You're not going to make the team a lot weaker just to get this guy on a team, on a category, when he isn't even that good himself. This is like LR Mega Shenron. Like, don't get me wrong, because Bardock kind of has potential. I mean, 5.4 is okay as well. I mean, he hasn't transformed yet. But, like, this is like LR Mega Shenron dropping when he did, because all of that damage reduction, this is probably actually going to hurt us quite a bit. How much it doing? 291. But this is like LR Mega Shenron dropping when he did, when GT Boss is in the state it's in, because you're not running hardly like next to no GT Boss units, which means you miss out on a ton of, I think, damage reduction with LR Mega Shenron, which if he'd released at a later point, naturally he's going to age. If he released at a later point where there was a few good GT Boss units, he would actually be very good. I'm not gonna lie, that's the funny thing with LR Mega Shenron, is he's actually a very good unit. Like, he has a ton of potential, but because that category is an absolute mess, he was kind of dead on arrival. And because Bardock is a unit where you're going to depend on having as many low class warrior category units on a team as possible to get him as much damage reduction as possible. But unfortunately, there just aren't that many good ones in the game right now. And when there was, Bardock's EZA wasn't out. So it's kind of similar to that. But just giving him flat out damage reduction would have been a hell of a lot better than this. He then gets an additional attack plus 50% and attacks are effective against all types when there's a Wicked Bloodline category enemy, which with the new Fighting Legend Freezer event, which of course we have already attempted, it's not that difficult, but he's going to get a massive buff and actually be a very good unit against him in that event. Not that you really need certain units to be, you know, kind of standouts in that event, but I mean, it is there. Outside of that, where it really matters when you're testing units in Red Zone and then eventually in the 9th anniversary content, yeah, no, there's no Wicked Bloodline enemy, but I guess you're only really missing out on attack plus 50%, which can be kind of a lot, and then attacks effective against all types, which you're not really missing out on too much. He does also launch an additional attack that has a high chance, a 50% chance of becoming a super attack when there's another low class warrior category ally in a second, attacking in the same turn. That's the only good reason for you to bring a low class warrior unit, is literally for that additional, which funny enough, even with a condition attached to it, isn't even guaranteed. You're not even guaranteed the additional super. You have a 50% chance of that popping off. And then he might not even super, it might just be a normal. But that's the only benefit, real benefit with bringing a low class warrior unit with you, is you have a 50% chance of an additional super, which means you could potentially stack up 2, and if the potential system, you know, kicks in as well, if you do have dupes in him, or maybe even skill orbs, you may even super attack 3 times in one turn. This is also going to do us some damage. 354k. Because we can't give this man his damage reduction, because there are not that many good low class warrior units in the game. I mean, yeah, if I bought 23rd World Tournament Goku, at least we would have had, what, 10%, 20% damage reduction, but realistically, in the current meta of Dokkan, what is 20% damage reduction going to do against some of these harder hitting enemies? It's just not going to do that much. Like, you're still primarily relying on him stacking up his defense by 50%. You're pretty much relying on sheer stats, which unfortunately, unless you're stacking up lots, which I mean 50% is quite a lot at once, but you have a lot in your passive, it's not really doing too much for him. I mean, we've almost actually gone through this entire event, but I mean, we do have Pan here with some support as well. I mean, we haven't really got too many additionals, even though funny enough I've got 2 dupes in him. And how much do we have an additional right now? 14, and we haven't even really hit one. Up to 533k defense. Yes, we could have stacked a bit more if I had a low class warrior category unit with us, and again, that's the only benefit about really bringing one, because again, what's 10-20% damage reduction going to do? Realistically, he should have just had flat out damage reduction. It would have helped him so much. Kind of like Gohan, he stacks both. Yes, he stacks up a lot, but he also has additionals, some not even attached to conditions, which helps him out a lot. Then he also has guard the entire time as well. So Bardock could have at least have had just flat out 50% damage reduction, and it actually would have helped him out a ton, but for some reason they attached it to low class warrior units. Let's pop his transformation, which I mean, his transformation conditions have always been quite solid. You know, from the 4th turn, can be activated anytime when there's a Wicked Bloodline category enemy, which again, the new Freezer event, that will help him out a lot. But we are on a 436k attack stat, 580k defense. We do have Pan's AGL support, which is giving him a big buff, but why not? And we can also kind of give him a ton of orbs as well and see what he does with those. But now that we've transformed him, of course, he does stop stacking. He does now raise... Really? Are we alright? I mean, this is probably going to hurt quite a bit. 218k. Still pretty doo-doo. 9.4 mil. And don't forget, we did give him... He does have support right now, and we did give him a ton of key spheres. So that number's actually partially inflated. So he doesn't even really do too... I mean, damage is alright, but again, it's partially inflated because of the support. I mean, Pan is runnable nowadays, which is good. But then we also gave him the entire field worth of AGL key spheres. I want to see what that number is without support and loads of key spheres. But now, as I said, he does stop stacking. He does raise attack and defense by 50%. Starts the turn with key +3, attack and defense +180. Attacks are effective against all types. He has 18% damage reduction, which again is only going to do so much. He does launch an additional attack. There's a 70% chance of becoming a super attack, which is pretty nice. He then gains an additional attack +100% when attacking. He has a 30% chance to crit. 30% chance to dodge, and then gains an additional key +3 and chance upon a critical hit, and dodge chance plus 18%. And damage reduction of 18% as well for 5 turns from the character's entry, which means for 5 turns, once you transform into Super Saiyan, Bardock will have a total of 36% damage reduction, and wherever you've managed to get his defense up to. Which, I mean, to be fair, he does have, for 5 turns, he does have, like, almost 50% chance to dodge, along with 36% damage reduction off the back of him stacking, but unfortunately, it's just not enough. Like, it's not enough. I feel like at this point, he should have had, like, 50% damage reduction with no condition attached to it, and then maybe some extra damage reduction on top of that for 5 turns, just to kind of pad him out a bit. But I guess it is nice he does have dodge chance along with damage reduction as well, but again, it's only going to do so much just because it isn't too much. And it's not like he's stacking super quickly. That guaranteed additional he has, or no, it's not even guaranteed. That 70% chance of an additional super he should have had, again, unconditionally in base, and then the extra additional tied to the low class warrior condition, so he can stack up quicker, just to again help him stack defense quicker and pad him out more, if all that damage reduction is going to be attached to having a certain amount of low class warrior units on the team. But they did none of it. They did neither. They done neither or, which means Bardock in base is actually doo-doo. Like, you have no reason to bring him. He then gets an additional key +3 and chance upon a crit. I know I've already done that bit. And he then launches a guaranteed additional attacks become guaranteed crits when there's a Wicked Bloodline category enemy, which again, outside of the Fighting Legend Freezer event, which really isn't that difficult. And aside from, I guess, the pure Saiyan mission, which once you've done it, you've done it. Like, there's no really replay there for you. So once you've done that, kind of doesn't matter. Are we losing or gaining anything here? Not really. 387 on attack. Yeah, we'll leave it like this. Which I said, once you've done the mission, kind of doesn't matter. Like, it's done. Like, you're not going to use Bardock again outside of that. Like, you're not going to bring him on a red zone run because he just isn't good enough. But, I mean, final turn, no inflated stats from loads of orbs, no support from Pan, and we're looking at an 8.3 million attack stat, which is okay. It's solid. It's solid at best. I mean, when he transforms into Super Saiyan, it's a lot better than base, but I feel like, again, he should have had like a chance of an additional, not tied to a condition in base, so he stacks up quicker. Should have had like 30% damage reduction, not attached to a condition in base, so he had some coverage, so he had a bit of padding, so he wasn't too vulnerable in the beginning. And then this form should have been like, do you know what I mean? Like a lot, maybe like a ton of damage reduction for free, like 50% for free. Maybe extra damage reduction for 5 turns as well, so he's a bit more bulky. Guaranteed additional. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like he could have been so much better if they just kind of rearranged some things, moved some things about, and they just didn't. And he's just not that good. As in base, he's too vulnerable. When he transforms, he's not even doing that much damage to the point where it's worth kind of bringing him and then getting through him being in base and then transforming him. Yeah, as I said, I mainly just done this video just purely for content. Like, I really wasn't bothered with using him, and this is literally why. He's just not that good. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll bring him in probably the pure Saiyan mission against in the Fighting Legend Freezer event just to use him, because it would actually be okay there. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a great rest of your day, and peace.